Is everyone else ready? Good evening. I'd like to call the Board of Trustees meeting to order on Tuesday, December 18th at approximately 6:08 p.m. Oops. Would you please silence any noisemakers you may have? I hadn't quite got that far. And join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Baker?
Here.
Bell?
Here.
Berto?
Here.
Kadanko?
Here.
Lino?
Here.
Zachary?
Here.
Approval of the agenda as published.
I'll make that motion.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the minutes as published.
So moved.
I'll second.
Changes, additions, deletions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? New Village Board business items. Item number 1, discussion regarding the plat was submitted by Marina Development LLC for Marina View Condominium and review of Resolution 394, which approves the plat. Consider motion for action if appropriate. On page 8.
Okay, a copy of the plat for Marina View condominiums is included in the meeting packets. I talked with Randy Nesbitt about this, and he said that he believes if you make a motion to approve the plat, that you should make it contingent upon the proper terms being in the declaration for the condominium association. Chris provided me a copy of that, and if you'd like, I can read you the applicable paragraph. Do you want me to do that?
Sure.
Okay. Sub 8, pursuant to development agreement between declarant and the Village of Sister Bay as amended on or before December 31st, 2019, the association shall cause no less than 4 units to be dedicated by deed for limited transient short-term rental use on an annual basis at prevailing market rates for at least 100 nights per unit during the period from Memorial Day to Fall Fest. These unit owners shall maintain records evidencing that the unit was in fact made available for rent during this period, which shall be made available upon reasonable request by the declarant, the association, or the Village of Sister Bay. Further, these unit owners may be subject to penalty by the association or the village if the rental availability obligations are not complied with. The obligations set forth under this section 7.05 sub A shall continue into perpetuity unless or until an alternative agreement is reached with the Village of Sister Bay. And then there's other terms pertaining to the rentals, but that basically is the main one.
And
That all
that's
sounds
what
good.
Randy put in there?
Yeah,
Okay. So what
well,
does,
actually, Chris's attorney did with Randy's approval.
so what is our definition of market rates?
We just came up with market rate at the Plan Commission level because we did not want them to be available for rent, let's say, for $1,000 a night, and no one would ever rent them or seldom rent them. That kind of defeated the purpose. So I guess market rate is not necessarily defined. It would probably have to be a comparable of something else, you know.
I mean, sooner or later, we have to come up with some sort of a definition or understanding of that, or no?
No, it's just kind of general.
Going rates in the village.
You know, but it has to be something comparable. You know, you can't compare that to, let's say, Village View.
No, I think you'd compare it to a premium
Right.
level, and if they're 2-bedroom units, then what a 2-bedroom rents for, and if they're 3-bedroom units, what a 3-bedroom rents for. The only question that I have on this, and it relates to what Janelle just read in that part, on page 14, you know, where it says the same verbiage about the 4 units dedicated to the rental at market rates for at least 100 nights per year. My understanding is, with good intention, we're trying to make sure that there's transient rentals available, okay? My concern is if you're not identifying what you're gonna say the market rate is, you in essence are letting a pathway be there where they just go and find 4 people to do a 100-night long-term lease, and then say it's at market rate, and then we have not facilitated but hindered trying to get that transient rental in the village. So-
Transient is defined in the zoning code as rental for 30 nights or less. So we do have that.
So that's where, so then,
And
this
they
means
very
we're-
well could rent them out to 4 different people.
for 100 nights. And then we wouldn't have transient.
Well, that's still, well, for 30 nights in a
That
block.
would qualify. If you rent at 29 at your place, it's transient, you rent at 30, it's
No,
not.
but what I'm saying, this, to me, the way I read this, it makes it sound like I don't really need to worry about transient rentals, I just need to find 4 people to rent it for 100 nights, you know, in a long-term lease. You know, and then we're not getting the transient rentals in there, that's all.
I mean, you could have, all we have is the definition in the zoning code,
Yeah,
which is
I-
30 days or less.
I hear what you're saying. I mean, I do, but I think it's,
Yeah.
the definitions in the code. My concern would be on the same point, and I do like the market. And, you know, in good faith, you think everybody's gonna do it the right way, but inevitably, somebody's gonna list it on Airbnb, put it at $50 a night, they're gonna book it themselves, they're gonna cut a check for $230 to the state or village of Sister Bay, and then we're gonna have to argue that that's not market rate. So what's our plan when we do that? Like, do we have a plan?
I don't think there is a plan. I think we're
Yeah.
trying to put in place
Yeah.
the start, this is the first time that language is being put in.
Yeah.
And we're hoping to be able to use it going forward
Yeah.
in similar circumstances.
But if that
And
scenario would play
if-
out,
If the scenario plays out, then you have to address it at that time.
okay.
One thing that,
I'm just wondering if there's precedent for us to say.
No. That Bob Cuffrin, when I was talking to him about this, because we're working on a much broader thing in the zoning code, similar to this, and he said one of the things, granted, the onus is going to be on the village, which I don't like in this type of entity, but we have no choice over that, is that you could compare the Pratt, what they paid in on the Pratt compared to how many nights it was rented to see if it was being undervalued and being rented out. That would be one thing that the finance director would do, because that is not a public document. So that is one.
So we do get, the village does get,
You get it from the tourism zone, right? to see-
No.
No, you can't.
the Pratt is a confidential
Pratt, oh.
document that comes to the
Yeah.
village that lists all the businesses, the amount that they collected.
Yep. And that would be a separate entity.
And that is not a public
Yeah,
document.
yeah.
But that would be one way for internal village to be able to just look at things.
Yeah.
Dave, what if, at your direction, some of us would gather data from village-specific, similar market properties, lay it all out and say, you know, based on this unit here, at the new place is a 2-bedroom, this is what we agree the competition is, or the level of stature is, this is what the market rates are, and then attach some sort of a,
Personally, I don't think we want to be in that particular business at
And in
this point in time,
And in 10 years, when that market rate changes,
okay?
or in 2 years, or next year.
Right.
Okay.
This market rate's only gonna matter if it enters in litigation.
And
Okay.
and at the moment, I think we're feeling confident that the Pratt return will pretty well
Okay.
nail things down.
I think that's a great mechanism to be able to say, and we can do the math and figure if it's market or not. My just concern is I know how easy this is to dodge right now, and there are people that will dodge it.
Sure.
I mean, inevitably. So what's our plan when they do? So then we just bring our attorneys in, and we're gonna have legal fees. It's gonna end up costing me more than most of us.
I don't think you can nail down enough in an agreement of this sort,
Yeah,
that somewhere, somebody's not gonna be able to get around it.
yeah. Okay.
I
Question I gotta ask.
think we need to work for the exception. Instead of trying to write for the exception, I just think we need to look for the exception when it happens, and then determine what to do. That's my personal opinion.
Agree.
on page 14, I would like to change the resolution. Under item C, Starting with the third line, it says per unit / year. I think it should say per unit per year,
Oh,
Okay.
just because that could. And then the last sentence, the Door County Tourism Zone reports failed to demonstrate sufficient available room nights. It's not how many they
Right.
rent, it's
It's
how many
available,
are available.
So rented will come out.
Yep.
And Chris had that same concern, so.
Yep, that's all that, those were the only changes I wanted to see.
So would somebody care to make a motion to include those changes and the verbiage that Janelle?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Discussion regarding the plan, I'm sorry, discussion regarding the recommendation from the Plan Commission that the document which is entitled Amendment to the Development Agreement between the Village of Sister Bay and Marina Development LLC, which pertains to the property located at 10722 North Bay Shore Drive, be approved as presented. Consider a motion for action if appropriate.
Also, I'd like to see those same changes on line 22, sub C, exactly the same, adding the per and taking out rented and inserting available.
Okay, so now you're on page 22, what line
Yep.
is it?
Under C,
Okay,
41 through 48.
Mm-hmm.
okay, so, this is per year. And there's sufficient available units, okay.
And then I'll make that motion that we accept as presented and amended.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Item 3, discussion regarding the recommendation from the Utilities Committee that the utility easement which is located on the Casperson property at 10710 North Bay Shore Drive be formally abandoned. Consider a motion for action if appropriate.
So moved.
Oh, okay. That was easy.
I'll second.
Oh, it's
Discussion?
kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Discussion regarding the recommendation from the Plan Commission that the documents which are entitled Amendment to the Sarah Anderson Nicholas Huffcamp Development Agreement and Personal Guarantee be approved as presented. Consider a motion for action if appropriate.
Okay, Sarah Hoffkamp, or Sarah Anderson, had come into the Plan Commission meeting and had requested that she be allowed to gravel a portion of the parking lot because paving costs were so expensive for the wedding event venue. The Plan Commission decided that that should not be done, but instead that areas that wouldn't be paved should just be left in their natural state and mowed, and this amendment reflects that. There also is a personal guarantee that's attached to the amendment, and that basically kind of guarantees that there will be some teeth if Sarah doesn't pave the parking lot.
So it's going to be phased.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a 3-year extension on paving the parking lot. And Randy, I had talked to Randy about this after that Plan Commission meeting, and basically the personal guarantee was about the best thing that we could do unless we went back to public hearing and put it in the conditional use permit, and that was a lot of ridiculousness, so we opted not to do that.
We have a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Have a discussion?
Is it as presented then?
As presented.
Okay.
Saw nothing in there that,
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Discussion regarding the approval and adoption of the ordinance 261-121-818, which authorizes the creation of a record retention policy for the Village of Sister Bay. Consider motion for action if appropriate.
This is you, Heidi.
Well, at the November 1st meeting of the board, we introduced the records retention schedule that the Public Records Board approved back in August. And we signed, submitted a request to the Public Records Board that the village adopt it in its entirety. We got the notification back that they have approved our submission at the end of November, so it's before you know, once the ordinance is passed, we can start implementing it and cleaning up some records. We're very
fun.
excited.
A winter project.
Timing's great, right?
I'm sure you all read all
Is this-
56 pages of this document.
It was riveting.
I did the first time around, not this
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, the chart on 94, I want to ask about line 6.
There are some records that are not applicable, but we're not obligated in any way to create records that match this schedule, so it seems pretty straightforward.
Somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
A lot of shredding.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Discussion regarding approval and adoption of Resolution 395-121-818, which amends the 2018 budget for the Village of Sister Bay. Consider a motion for action if appropriate.
Tasha was not able to attend this meeting, so she prepared this report. It basically is pretty self-explanatory.
Any question on any of the, I mean, we do this every year. There's usually, there's an amendment to the budget shortly after we do it, when we're able to finalize inflows and outflows a little bit better.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Discussion regarding approval and adoption of ordinance 262-121-818, which amends section 22 of the Board of Trustees bylaws and section 6 of the commission bylaws and rules of order related to committee, commission, and board compensation. Consider a motion for action if appropriate.
Okay, this ordinance was drafted in accord with some discussions that took place during the budget process. Tasha also included a report in the packets, and that also is pretty self-explanatory.
I would like to propose some major changes. And when I talked to Dave about this earlier, his recollection of those conversations was a little bit different than what's here on paper. His recollection, well, why don't you just say what yours is? I won't talk for you.
You're so good at it, though.
Okay, so first of all, if there's going to be any change in compensation to trustees, it has to occur prior to paperwork being turned in for the next election. And it can't take effect till after the next election. Since we have a staggered election process, any changes to compensation will take 2 years to implement in its entirety. So if this is approved tonight, as an example, after the next election, those trustees that are elected during the next election will fall under the new compensation plan. Trustees that are not up for election this cycle will have to wait till the next cycle for it to be implemented for them, okay, for those positions. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, when we talked about this at finance and personnel, we were looking at alternates somewhat, and we used the county as kind of a guide for some of the things. But one of the things that when I talked to Denise, when she explained to me some of the changes she was thinking about asking for or amending for tonight, was I do not recall at a regular committee meeting that the hours continued beyond the first 2 hours. So like, we're asking to change it from $40 for a committee meeting to $50 for a committee meeting. And the way it's written here, it would be an additional $25 an hour for every hour after the first hour. I don't recall it like that. I recall that we raised it to $50. We had some discussion about $50 covering the first 2 hours of a meeting. But I don't know if we then agreed upon $25 per hour after that. So one of the things you had talked about was just making it a flat $50, which personally I'm fine with. Okay. What was the other one?
I would like to propose that Plan Commission the members of that committee get paid the same as the board, $75.
We'll go bankrupt here.
There is a lot of a lot of homework, a lot of thinking time, and.
Long meetings.
Long meetings, and I just think that that would be much more appropriate for that committee. It was not it was not my idea, it was Nate's, and, but I'm presenting it, because I agree with it. I have no other problem with the per diems, and maybe because we talked about $25 for the per diem, somehow that
Got
everything that we talked about that day just kind of morphed into something else that's written here on paper. One of the things, though, where it talks about the hourly rate for per diems, I talked to Randy a lot, and it doesn't necessarily say in here conferences or phone calls to the attorney. So I was wondering if that.
Well, don't we have something about referred to committee, official, or employee?
Informal committee meeting?
Face-to-face meetings with other trustees or employees if it is official business, an official legislative, administrative, or court proceeding or hearing, or the legislative days.
So is Randy an employee of ours as a subcontractor?
Yeah.
Okay, so that covers it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think she should pay out of pocket if she's talking to him that much.
It's been a lot of phone calls lately.
Okay, so I guess for Tasha's sake, since she's not here, on page 115, I'm assuming you want sub B to say a per diem rate of $75 per village board meeting and plan commission meeting attended? Okay, and then what
Yeah.
other revisions did you want?
Well, I think,
On that same page, right under that.
yes.
Item C would be removed.
Take that all
Well, that,
out? That $25?
yes, for each
Okay.
hour above 1 hour, that would be removed.
Okay.
That
You
shouldn't
s-
change, however, if you're going to a meeting or a conference or traveling somewhere on village business. But that doesn't change, you'd still be paid for that.
Right. So A totally goes away.
Well, no, you still get your salaries. Right?
Yeah, but it's falling under the $25
Oh,
head. It's
okay.
falling under
Right.
C. So I think all of A,
Under sub C.
correct, goes away.
Okay. So then how do you want that to be worded to lead into what now was B and is going to become A?
Probably just a per diem rate of $25 per hour. And then with all those things
Right.
under it then?
Okay, so it'll say a per diem rate of $25 per hour shall be paid for, and then blah, blah,
List
blah.
everything that's in
Yeah.
there.
So A goes away, and then it'll be, B will become A and
Yep.
vice versa.
Right.
Okay.
And plus, it was going to be a paperwork nightmare for staff. We'd all have to
Yeah.
sign in, we'd
Yeah.
have to sign out, they'd have to be tallying our hours, and that just really makes no sense.
I agree.
Do you want D to stay in there then? The
Yes.
proration? Okay.
Yep.
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
That's all I have. Any other questions? If not, we could use a motion.
Okay, so now that's the board. Did you want any revisions to the committee or commission? Those are on page 117. Should they
Well,
kind
should
of
we do them
reflect this?
separately?
Well, the resolution.
Or does the
is for
resolution
both,
cover?
Or the ordinance
It covers
covers both
both.
of them.
And there's really no,
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we accept it, including Denise's point about the plan commission moving up to 75.
So we're changing it in both places?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you want the
We'd have
same
to.
revisions made
Yes,
to the
on
committee
both
and
sides.
commission? Okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Was there a second?
No.
I got Zashki, motion, who made the second?
No one.
Oh,
Well, I'll make it.
okay. Item number 8, discussion regarding the confirmation of President Leland's recommended appointments, consider motion for action if appropriate. So, the recommendation is that Rob, as Chair of the Youth Center Board, as well as appointment of Louise Hausman, Lutska McCarthy, and Amelia Zachke to serve as members of the board for the youth.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
And number 9, report of county activities from the county supervisor. I do have a couple of things today. The county board met today for its last meeting of the year. Just a couple of things to point out. Today, we did do a recognition of Jerry Warwick. He is the president of the hospital, Door County Memorial Hospital. He's been there for, I think, 31 years. He was instrumental in doing a lot, bringing in a lot of other services into the county and the community that did not exist before. And he was certainly one of the prime movers in putting together our whole ambulance service across Door County. And our ambulance service is held up across the state as the gold standard for county-operated services. So we recognized him. We also approved at no cost to taxpayers an acquisition of additional property for Door Bluff Headlands County Park. Just an aside, I think in the 90s, 80s or 90s, this same property came up for sale. It was valued at $1.4 million, was the appraised value. The county passed on it at the time, or could come up with the fundraising to do it. This time, the property has come back up again for sale. And this time, we're a little bit more confident that we'll be able to raise the necessary funds without being taxpayer dollars through donations. The current price is $450,000 in the appraised and assessed value. It was all in woodland zoning, so there was minimal taxes being paid on it, and as such, we won't lose a lot of tax base by purchasing the additional property. It was under $2,000 a year was the taxes that were being paid on it.
I'm sorry, what park was that again?
Door Bluff Headlands.
Okay.
Last but not least, I did sponsor, and it was approved, support for legalization of medical cannabis. So what we did is we sent a resolution to the state asking them to consider putting in place rules and regulations for the use of medical cannabis in the state of Wisconsin. There are 33 other states that have approved and used medical cannabis in some way, shape, or form. There's been numerous studies over the years that have shown a number of things that it is good for. And so we decided that if we'd like the state to go ahead and take a look at that we should make a resolution forward. So that's what we did.
How did the vote fall?
It was not unanimous, it was a voice vote. Just so you know, all votes on the county board aren't done on the voter board. Anything having to do with money, grants, budgets, whatever, requires a voter board. So it's an ordinance requires a voter board, okay? But all other resolutions that don't include money at the discretion of the chair can be on a voice vote. So probably 50% of the time we voice vote resolutions. That was one of them that we voice voted. It was not unanimous, but the ayes certainly had it.
So it was a good majority.
If I had to guess, I'd say 5 or 6 were nay, but the other 14 or 15 were definite yays.
70, 75%.
Yeah. That was it for county activities. Review of the financial statements and consideration of a motion to approve the monthly bills. I'll make a motion that we approve the monthly bills, pay the monthly bills in the amount of $587,094.33.
I will second that.
Questions?
Something I've heard around the community is that artificial tree, I'm curious to know how much it costs. And I suspect I have to wait for Tasha, but I've heard people talk about that, and that's, usually I don't hear that. So it makes me wonder.
I've heard a lot of very positive things about the use of the artificial trees.
There's just that particular one, and I've heard a very wide variety of people. People are gossiping about it. And I want to have an answer.
It didn't cost $50,000 like the rumors are saying.
Okay, I've heard that, and I've heard it was $900. I'm guessing it's between those two.
Somewhere.
It
That's
was
what I'm
in-
hoping, if
I can
it's
tell you
not.
this, it was in the budget for the
Sure.
lights, so. I don't know if it's in.
I'm trying to remember who we bought it from.
Motion that makes.
I thought
way out
that
of
there in the
gossip,
bills,
so
there was
this
some
is good.
$5,000.
Sometimes it's good to put it to rest though, Rob. You can say, no, you're wrong.
But that was probably a
Yeah, that is-
multitude.
Or
of
you
things.
quietly don't say anything. Never bring it up again.
We'll have to wait for Tasha, I think.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of the company. It probably was paid last month.
It came out
already.
of parks under lights?
No.
Acme Christmas tree rental.
Oh, I don't think we rented that. No, I'm fine waiting for Tasha.
Yeah.
I would like to get an answer someday.
Anything else?
That's, I have nothing.
On a future parks agenda, before we purchase any more decorations for Christmas, can we have a conversation there?
Chris?
Just to kind of clarify, Parks did tell Danny to just go ahead and order this year, so he didn't overstep boundaries.
Oh, no, I know that.
Yeah, yeah.
I know
right,
that.
Right.
I think that's a good policy.
I just have some few choice comments to make myself.
Uh-oh.
You don't like the palm trees, Denise?
They're okay with
They're
me.
okay with you.
Yeah.
Especially on the beach.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Report by the village administrator on village activities and projects.
Well, the report is in the packets. There's really not a whole lot. The major thing that's going to be happening in the village is the New Year's Eve cherry drop and fireworks.
I did get permission from Al Goki to use the property up above. I did talk to Chris Heck, Fire Department, to make arrangements for that. So,
Excellent.
How much are you planning on, like, lighting off?
about 10 cakes, 40 to 50 shots each. No.
Do you need some fundraising for that, or we're?
No, actually, we're good for this year. We'll need fundraising for next year.
Okay. I think it would be a great idea.
But the idea was we're just gonna take a cake, a finale cake, and set it up there. It'll be anywhere from 25 to 36 shots
Okay,
in rapid succession.
cool.
So,
Excellent.
yeah.
Good.
I'll add, you talk about the ice rink as soon as conditions allow. I will, because there was some discussion of this at Parks. But we'll cover it under Parks, never mind. Okay, anything else under that?
Nope. And then Tasha's report is in there. That's pretty well self-explanatory. Danny's report is there, as well as Mike's.
I guess I'm a little bit surprised that they remittance too on the Pratt. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
And that was just third quarter?
But that's always going to be the biggest quarter.
Yeah, but still. Facilities manager report? Self-explanatory.
Mhm.
Utility director?
Did, at our last utilities meeting, it says it here in Mike's report or whatever, that the advertisement is almost ready for posting for a new utilities employee. Has that gone out? Do you know, Janelle?
Not to my knowledge. I
Okay.
haven't seen it.
Okay.
I can also report that the connection out to Highway 42 has has certainly been blasted. If you drove anywhere past my station in the last 2 weeks, you would see mounds about 10 feet high within 15, 20 feet of my pump.
Now, how does that make you?
As
Oh,
they
Dave.
blasted down that whole thing. And it went all the way back to the quarry.
It's been quite noisy.
And they, no, inside it was hardly noisy.
Really?
They put seismographs on the corners of the building, and as they started blasting, getting closer, they kept looking at it. And they were adjusting their charges, the spacing and stuff on them based on the seismographic
readings.
activity. And they came over and videoed everything, they looked on all the manholes, everything. They did a great job.
Excellent.
And today, they were removing all the top stuff, so it's almost back down to grade. So I'm sure that pretty soon they'll start doing the digging to actually start laying the pipe.
Good.
But no, Patchke they did a great job. But it looked, just an aside, the last couple of times they were blasted, it was maybe 100, 150 feet at a stretch. We were able to be there and videotape it. And it's really cool to watch it on slow motion.
Oh,
Because you just see it like rising up about 10 feet like this, and then you see a bunch of dust. And there's all this rubble. But anyway, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Committee reports. Administrative, has not met. Admin and comp, has not met. Common technology, has not met. Coastal byways. There are minutes in there. And we're hoping to get Rob advance notice when there's going to be meetings.
Yeah, I've got to call into Linda.
Okay.
So,
TCECD.
I did not make the meeting this week, but there's something worth mentioning for Sister Bay.
Mhm.
Mary Kay Shumway is the new representative for the Board of Realtors on DCDC.
who was their rep before?
Jan Campbell,
Yeah.
Sturgeon Bay area or?
Southern Door.
Southern,
So-
okay.
So there'll be
Excellent.
More
Okay.
representation there.
Good. Economic development has not met. Finance has not met. Fire,
Has not met,
fire district
has not met.
Historical,
that's in your packets.
That was last month's, which I reported on, and we did have a meeting on the 6th. I just got the minutes this morning, Janelle, so I'll forward
Okay.
them on to you
Thank you.
for the last meeting, that Thursday, the 6th. Not much discussed, building update. We've set a barn budget fundraising goal of $1.5 million. I think when that number came out, what Bob Jiske, when he estimated what it would cost, there were some gasps around the table. They didn't expect it to be that high.
and this is for what?
This is the new barn they want to build out there.
It's not just a barn.
That's true. You were correct.
There is safe, secure
Record
archival
storage.
storage, bathrooms they were gonna put in there, right?
Meeting areas, yes, yeah.
Office.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to refer, Fred Johnson came in, and they're going to refer to it as a historical center from now on.
Yes, that came
Yeah.
up at the last meeting.
Because
No
a lot
longer
of
gonna
people,
call
when they
it
hear barn.
Shame on
yeah.
me.
We knew what you meant.
They did have a Christmas party sing-along on the 7th, and that's about it.
Quality lighting has not met. Library,
What's in the packet summarizes it fine, Dave.
Marina Fest. This is minutes are here.
Marina is in there, and Marina Fest, we met on the 13th. And just basically went over, I guess there was about a $9,000 profit. And we just went over what,
Get some preliminary planning for next year.
next year, that's correct.
We did have a little discussion at Marina Committee about
Marina Committee or Marina Fest?
Marina Committee. You said Marina and Marina
Fest, right.
Fest. This is Marina, can I talk about Marina?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Possible, as a way to maybe facilitate bathrooms being put in the park is working with the village. The Marina has a little extra money as a way to maybe get a project going. Obviously, the Marina, I don't think has any interest in funding the whole thing because it's not just for the Marina, it'd be for the village. But the Marina could add on private bathrooms for their
Some
customers.
funds.
Just could be a way to finance it and have it done probably sooner than the village could do it. If that's of any interest.
I think we've always talked about the village and the marina working together if we did bathrooms on the back of the village hall, because it,
Yeah, absolutely.
J-Doc,
Absolutely.
it would, those people wouldn't have to
Yeah.
walk so far. We always felt that behind the village hall was really the best place for
Absolutely.
the
Yeah,
bathrooms.
well, I mean, I've sat in committees for years talking about that.
Yeah.
Maybe-
Just there's so much other stuff pertaining to that darn village hall
I know.
that it becomes such a huge undertaking.
It's just an idea.
Yeah.
I think maybe we'll end up a little more focus on that once we get the Hendrickson Park bathrooms replaced,
That's
which will be this spring.
kind of the inspiration of
So,
talk that
yeah.
it came up.
Okay. Parks. It's in there.
I thought you were gonna talk about something under parks.
Bills. That's where you started to talk about it, wasn't it, under bills?
No, it was, wasn't it Mike's report?
Yeah.
Oh.
What was on Mike's report?
Oh, was it the connection with the bathroom?
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
We had gotten a bid of about $60,000 to run the water over there for the connection. We decided that was too much. That's the only bid we received. The other people that Mike asked to provide a bid have chosen not to, but they'd be willing to do it again in the spring. Mike's feeling was, when he talked to me about it, was we should just forget about it for now. And in February or March, try and go out and rebid it when people are putting together their spring work, and look at doing it then. If we gave Dorner the okay to go ahead and do it now, they would have to take down the Christmas lights that are there. And so rather than mess all it up, we decided we'll just wait. His feeling was he thought we could do better, maybe in the spring. And so instead of trying to do an add-on to what they're doing up at Pre-3. Because that's their priority, they would do it after all that was done.
Okay, now the one question that I had, or that actually Al Goki had, is when do you want him to start planning on constructing, doing demolition, and then starting construction?
Well, our understanding was he was gonna start to do demolition anytime, because that could be done anytime over winter.
His concerns are the Christmas lights. Do you want him to
Well-
wait till like they come down?
Yes, he would have to
Okay.
wait till they come down. right.
Okay.
But,
Oh, I thought we were just gonna demolish it, no? Oh,
no,
okay.
no, because they were gonna come in and do it in basically a day.
So probably mid-February, something like that.
Right, because when do we turn off the Christmas lights in the village now?
Isn't it the week
Valentine's
after
Day.
Super
Is it?
Bowl?
Week after Super Bowl.
Valentine's Day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's risen.
Long time.
Labor Day.
Okay, that was it, yep. Personnel, Plan Commission.
We've been busy.
SBAA.
Key thing I would mention, Dave, is that, as everyone may recall, during the budget process related to SBA's monetary request for the year was the identification of Maluska McCarthy as worthy of being extended a salary full-time offer to take over officially as a salaried full-time assistant coordinator. That has been offered to her, she's accepted, and so
Great.
that part is in place. Looking forward to moving forward with that. The other thing I would just mention, and Scott could attest to this from our Marina Fest committee, anything that Louise and her leadership has had involvement with. Unsolicited commentary continues to come back about how grateful people are and appreciative of, what she's done. And so we're looking forward to that continuing.
Good. Tourism zone.
Has not met.
Pages.
Minutes in.
Well, that would be Patrick, right?
Packets, yeah.
Go ahead.
I didn't attend the last meeting, so,
The January meeting of utilities, we've wanted to have a GIS system, and we got a couple of bids, and they were quite a bit apart. Mike went out and got a third one, and all three of them are going to be making a half-hour presentation to the Utilities Committee. What?
the 8th,
Okay.
I think the 8th of January.
Yeah.
If anybody else is interested in coming. The Utilities is going to pay for this particular aspect of the GIS, but I think a lot of us on the Plan Commission and the Village Board are also looking to add many different layers to it as we can afford to do. And so I think it's really important that maybe some other people from the board also view the presentations, get a feel for, who, because we're going to be with them for a long, long time, whoever is chosen, and
What are we trying to accomplish with the GIS?
well, everything is going to be basically handheld for utilities, and they will know where everything is in the village. It may not start out that, they may just do a certain base layer as we can afford it, and they will add different things. They will be able to notate things in the field when they're inspected. All you have to do is, everything is in the cloud. So it's always live, it's always updated. You can touch on something on your handheld, and it will say when the maintenance work was done on it. And there's just so many different things, but that simply is really just one aspect of what the village will be able to do once we pick that and they start.
Also could be zoning information in there,
Yeah.
which would be helpful to plan.
Okay, so plumbing, piping, locations, maintenance, historical
Age.
records, age.
Age,
okay.
that kind of thing.
Easements. Yeah, just everything, instead of, going back and somebody wanting to do something and like having to dig through maps and pull them out and,
So everything on a macro scale, not a, got it, okay.
yeah.
Youth Center.
There's some notes in the packet as far as the last few meetings we've had, getting ready for the Slime Fest, February 9th. We have everything set up at the school level for the timeline to distribute flyers to students, send home in student book bags. We are involving the elementary school art teacher and getting students to create posters for the event to put up in the halls. And we are working on donations of all the materials and pizza party afterwards. And as a contingency, there is money still in the youth center checkbook if we need to, on the day of event, due to turnout, supplement what the donations are in terms of all that. Agreed in meeting with the people at the school and SBA team that this has more of a chance of being highly successful than a dud. And we're focusing as far as promotion on it, just with the Gibraltar Elementary, because you're talking about from K through 8, you're talking 265 kid audience plus parents. It's going to be open to everyone, but as far as marketing it or, officially spreading the word more to try and pull more, and we want to see what we get out of this event so that we're just not overwhelmed in the event that we would be. We'll be having the next what will be the final meeting leading up to set up for the event, we will have at the village hall so that we can make sure everything we need is over there and in place so that the setup is quick and efficient.
So what you'll want to do then is just let me know, and then we can do an agenda.
Do an agenda and all that, yep.
And what you guys are probably going to do, and I don't know if you want to do this at some other point, all the people that were authorized signers on that account that Rob mentioned are no longer active anymore. So you should probably appoint new signers. Do you want to do that at the next board meeting?
That's probably a good idea.
Okay.
I finally scrolled all the way down to utilities while Rob was talking. May I go back to that and
Sure.
and say something? Okay, our December minutes are not in here, and at that meeting, Bud Collins from the town of Liberty Grove questioned some verbatim minutes from a couple, I think it was maybe the October meeting. And those were quite lengthy. And at our November meeting, there was just a short little stretch of something that was verbatim. And he questioned that, and I said that I had requested it, and he felt that that was wrong, that the committee should decide, you know, how our minutes are going to be taken. What I failed to say is that I had talked to you, and you gave the permission for Stacy to do the verbatim aspect of it. So I just wanted you to be aware that they have a problem with that. When we talk about it in January, I will finish the rest of the story.
Okay.
But I don't quite know why there's issue.
I guess what I have to say about that is if there's a question about something or somebody feels that something should be talked about, if you have the tape or the verbatim transcript of that particular issue, everybody can see what it is in black and white, and they can clearly understand it. So it's not something you would do every day for
Right.
everything, but
Right.
if there's a question about something, it's entirely appropriate.
They just didn't feel that I, as a single member, should be making that call, which I didn't. But- Right.
Okay. Okay, we don't need to consider a motion to go into executive session because it turns out we do not have an executive session.
There's only one thing I should talk about.
Although Heidi's going, I don't think
Because I
so.
had something,
Oh.
but it doesn't have to be discussed tonight, I guess. What was that thing I sent you way back when, that you looked at for me?
Oh, yeah,
But that's okay.
yeah. Well, we probably should go and talk about it, though, because it's such a short meeting.
What are we talking about?
If you don't mind.
What?
We've already
I missed the
served.
conversation.
Heidi has something that she needs to talk to us about in closed session.
Okay. And I was reminded of something by Janelle.
Oh, okay. So we are.
Okay.
That was an elusive hour meeting we just had.
Should be short and sweet. Consider motion to convene an executive session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.851G to confer with legal counsel for the governmental body whose rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, Wisconsin statutes 19.851E, to deliberate, negotiate the purchase of public properties, invest in the public funds, conduct other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session, Wisconsin statutes 19.851C, to discuss personnel and employee benefits. Motion by Lino.
Second?
Roll call. Lino, yes.
Berto, yes.
Canagra, yes.
Zashki, yes.
Baker, yes.
We are now in closed session. We'll take a brief 5-minute recess while everybody packs up.